Do you often feel completely drained after interacting with certain people in your life? Maybe you're not just tired. Maybe you're dealing with someone toxic. Toxic individuals are more common than we think, and their impact on your emotional well-being can be profound, often leaving you mentally exhausted and questioning your own worth. As someone who has experienced this firsthand, I've realized that the longer you let toxic people remain in your life, the more damage they cause, sometimes without you even noticing. In my opinion, recognizing these individuals early is crucial to protecting your peace and personal growth. In this video, we'll dive into 10 distinct types of toxic people you need to avoid. People who drain your energy, cloud your judgment, and hold you back from becoming your best self. Toxic person #1. The constant criticizer. First of all, let's think about how it feels to be around someone who constantly picks apart everything you do without offering anything helpful in return. The constant criticizer is someone who thrives on pointing out your flaws, big or small, and they never seem to have anything positive to say. Their words are sharp, and over time, they begin to cut deeper than you realize. Criticism, in itself, isn't bad when it helps you grow. However, when there's no constructive feedback, only relentless fault-finding, it becomes a slow erosion of your self-esteem. When you're constantly exposed to this negativity, it has an insidious effect. It lowers your confidence, making you doubt your abilities and question your worth. This type of person makes you feel as though nothing you do is ever good enough, and that can deeply affect your emotional well-being. Imagine working tirelessly on a project at work, only to have your efforts dismissed by a coworker who criticizes every detail, without offering any suggestions on how to improve. Over time, you start to dread even sharing your work, because you know that all you're going to receive is more negativity. In relationships, this can be even more harmful. Picture someone in a marriage where their partner constantly criticizes how they dress, cook, or even how they speak. Little by little, the person begins to shrink into themselves, believing that they're failing at everything. They become a shadow of who they once were, afraid to step forward in their own light. But there's a way to break this cycle. First, you must recognize that this constant criticism is not a reflection of your worth, but rather a reflection of the other person's negativity. You have to learn to set boundaries with the criticizer. The next time they start with their negativity, respond assertively. Ask them, "How can I improve? What would you suggest I do better next time?" By doing this, you're flipping the conversation from one of negativity to one of growth. You shift the power from being their victim to taking control of the narrative. Frank A. Clark once said, "Criticism, like rain, should be gentle enough to nourish a man's growth without destroying his roots. If the rain is too harsh, it doesn't help you grow. It washes away your confidence and leaves you feeling bare. Your roots, the core of who you are, need nurturing, not constant downpour. It's crucial to differentiate between helpful feedback and destructive criticism, and to protect your mental space from those who bring you down instead of lifting you up. And in the wise words of the Stoic philosopher Epictetus, it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The constant criticizer may try to tear you down, but you have the choice to respond with strength, grace, and self-respect. You have the power to rise above their negativity, learning to seek feedback that nourishes your growth, not criticism that erodes your spirit. In conclusion, the constant criticizer is someone whose impact goes beyond the surface. They chip away at your confidence and make you feel small. However, by setting firm boundaries and asking for constructive feedback, you can begin to reclaim your strength and self-worth. Remember, you are not defined by someone else's constant negativity. You have the power to grow beyond it. Toxic person #2. The manipulator. First of all, let's face the reality of what a manipulator truly is. Someone who, at their core, uses charm, guilt, or deceit to bend situations to their advantage. Manipulators aren't always obvious. They can come across as charismatic, friendly, even caring. But beneath the surface, they pull the strings of your emotions. They craft a sense of obligation, making you feel as though you owe them something, when in reality, they're simply using you for their own gain. The impact of a manipulator goes deeper than most of us realize. They create an invisible web of control, making you feel powerless in your own life. Have you ever had a friend who always seems to need something from you? They ask for favors, big and small, and when you hesitate or say no, they guilt trip you. They might remind you of all the things they've done for you in the past, or worse, make you feel like a bad person for not dropping everything to help them. Slowly, you begin to feel burdened by an obligation that wasn't yours to bear in the first place. In personal relationships, this can be particularly devastating. Imagine being in a partnership where your significant other consistently manipulates situations to make you feel guilty for wanting personal time or space. Maybe they use their own emotional vulnerabilities to trap you in a cycle of feeling responsible for their happiness, when in truth, happiness can only come from within. The weight of their expectations becomes overwhelming, and you start to lose sight of your own needs, buried under the pressure to constantly accommodate theirs. But you don't have to stay caught in this emotional trap. The first step to breaking free is recognizing manipulation for what it is. Manipulators thrive on keeping you in the dark, so once you're able to spot their tactics, whether it's guilt, deceit, or feigned helplessness, you can begin to reclaim your power. Learning to say no is crucial. It's not easy, especially when they've convinced you that you're responsible for their well-being, but it's necessary. You are not responsible for fixing someone else's problems, nor should you feel obligated to sacrifice your peace for their gain. Not only that, but it's important to avoid getting entangled in their emotional games. Manipulators love drama because it keeps you distracted from the real issue, their control over you. So instead of engaging, take a step back. Protect your emotional boundaries and don't allow them to twist situations in their favor. Be clear in your communication and don't let guilt guide your decisions. Jim Rohn wisely said, "Manipulation is moving people for your own advantage, while inspiration is moving people for mutual benefit." Manipulators use their influence to steer you toward a path that only benefits them. But true inspiration, the kind we should all seek in our relationships, is about lifting each other up. It's about mutual respect, growth, and shared purpose. When you start recognizing the difference, you'll begin to surround yourself with people who empower you, not those who drain you. Stoic philosopher Seneca once said, "He who is brave is free." Into the context of dealing with manipulators, bravery is what gives you the strength to break free from their control. It's the courage to assert your own needs and reject the guilt they try to impose on you. By reclaiming your power, you step into the freedom that comes from living authentically, without the weight of someone else's manipulation. In conclusion, manipulators are experts at controlling your emotions, but by identifying their tactics, setting firm boundaries, and refusing to be drawn into their games, you can reclaim your sense of self. You have the power to move away from manipulation and instead surround yourself with relationships that are built on mutual respect and genuine care. And in doing so, you reclaim not just your freedom, but your peace. Toxic person #3, the victim. First of all, let's address one of the most subtle yet emotionally draining toxic types. The victim. This person constantly portrays themselves as helpless, a perpetual victim of life's circumstances. But what makes them truly toxic isn't their hardships. It's their refusal to take responsibility for their actions or their situation. They believe the world has wronged them, but instead of seeking solutions, they endlessly seek sympathy. The impact of a victim mentality on those around them can be suffocating. These individuals drain your energy not through aggression or manipulation, but through an exhausting sense of helplessness. They draw you in with their tales of misfortune, and because you care, you naturally want to help. However, no matter how much advice or support you offer, they never act on it. It's always the same story: blaming others, blaming the system, blaming life itself, but never reflecting inward to ask, what can I do to change this? Imagine working with a colleague who constantly complains about the unfairness of the workplace. They may grumble about their workload, blame management for their lack of progress, or feel that others get all the breaks. Every conversation with them spirals into a list of grievances. But when you suggest practical solutions, maybe asking for training, applying for a new position, or even improving certain skills, they dismiss it. They are not looking for answers. They are looking for validation in their helplessness. Over time, their negativity becomes contagious, affecting your mood and even your productivity. Besides that, these interactions create a cycle of dependency. The victim becomes reliant on your sympathy, and you might begin to feel responsible for their emotional state. But here's the truth. You are not responsible for fixing their lives. No amount of advice or encouragement can help someone who refuses to help themselves. The solution, however, is not to abandon empathy, but to reframe how you offer support. Instead of simply indulging their victim narrative, encourage them to take accountability. Offer practical solutions, but don't get emotionally invested if they choose not to act on them. It's vital to set boundaries and understand that some people are comfortable being in a state of perpetual pity because it relieves them of the responsibility to change. You can listen, but you must not let their inertia become your burden. In addition, it's important to emphasize accountability. For example, if your friend constantly complains about being treated unfairly at work, encourage them to speak to their boss or seek new opportunities elsewhere. If they refuse and continue to complain, gently remind them that without action, their situation will remain unchanged. You can't force someone to change, but you can protect yourself from being pulled into their emotional vortex. As John Gardner so powerfully put it, self-pity is easily the most destructive of the non-pharmaceutical narcotics. It is addictive, gives momentary pleasure, and separates the victim from reality. This quote speaks volumes about the danger of a victim mentality. When someone consistently indulges in self-pity, it becomes a comfortable prison, one that isolates them not only from reality, but from growth and accountability. In the Stoic philosophy, Epictetus teaches us that it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Life will present challenges to everyone, but the true measure of character is not found in avoiding hardship, but in rising to meet it. When we allow ourselves or others to be defined by victimhood, we rob ourselves of the strength that comes from owning our actions, our choices, and ultimately, our destinies. In conclusion, it's not cruel to ask someone to take responsibility for their life. It's an act of empowerment. By offering support with boundaries and encouraging accountability, you help not only yourself, but the person who is trapped in their victim mentality. You remind them that they have the power to change, and in doing so, you protect your own energy and emotional well-being. Toxic person #4. The narcissist. First of all, let's dive into one of the most complex and emotionally draining toxic personalities, the narcissist. These individuals are self-absorbed to the point where they expect constant admiration and attention, yet they offer nothing in return. Narcissists have an inflated sense of their own importance, and their interactions with others often revolve around one central theme: themselves. The people around them are not seen as individuals with their own needs or feelings, but as tools to serve their egos. The impact of a narcissist on your emotional well-being can be profound. Narcissists are adept at manipulating situations to always place themselves at the center of attention, making you feel invisible or insignificant in their presence. They demand your time, your energy, and your praise. Yet, when you need something in return, whether it's emotional support, empathy, or even a simple act of kindness, you'll find them absent. This imbalance leaves you drained, questioning your own worth, and feeling as though your needs are unimportant. Consider, for instance, a family member who constantly requires validation and praise, whether it's their career, their appearance, or their latest achievement. They expect you to celebrate them enthusiastically every time. But when you have a success, or even a difficult day, they are uninterested, or worse, dismissive. Imagine sharing an important milestone in your life, only to be met with a quick change of topic that shifts the focus back to them. Over time, this dynamic erodes your sense of mutual respect and leaves you emotionally depleted, always giving but never receiving. Not only that, but interacting with a narcissist can make you question your own boundaries. You may find yourself bending over backward to please them, sacrificing your own happiness and well-being just to keep the peace. They are experts at making you feel guilty for not meeting their constant demands for attention, subtly convincing you that you are the problem when, in fact, the relationship is one-sided. However, it's crucial to recognize that narcissists rarely change. Their self-centeredness runs so deep that they struggle to see beyond their own desires and needs. The solution lies in limiting your interaction with them and maintaining emotional distance. You cannot fill the endless void of their need for admiration, and trying to will only harm you. Instead, focus your energy on relationships that are reciprocal, where admiration, care, and support flow both ways. In addition, it's essential to protect your self-worth. You are not responsible for fueling someone else's ego at the cost of your own well-being. Build connections with people who see you, who value you for who you are, and who offer support without expecting constant praise in return. This is where your energy will flourish and where real, authentic connections can grow. As Mason Cooley aptly said, narcissism falls in love with itself, not with another. This quote cuts to the heart of the issue. Narcissists are in love with their own reflection, their own image of perfection. They are not capable of truly loving or supporting others because they are too consumed with themselves. And when you understand this, you free yourself from the burden of trying to win their approval. You realize that no matter how much you give, it will never be enough, not because you are lacking, but because their desire for admiration is insatiable. The wisdom of the Stoics reminds us that we must preserve our energy for things that are within our control. As Marcus Aurelius said, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. When you are entangled with a narcissist, they control your emotional energy by making everything about them. But you have the power to shift your focus, to guard your thoughts and your heart from being consumed by their endless demands. In conclusion, distancing yourself from narcissists is not selfish. It's self-preservation. By choosing to invest your emotional energy in relationships that are balanced and nurturing, you honor your own worth and protect your well-being. The admiration you seek should come from within, and the relationships you cultivate should be those where mutual respect and love are shared. Toxic person #5. The gossip. First of all, let's confront a type of toxicity that can be deceptively harmful: the gossip. At first glance, engaging in casual conversation about others might seem harmless, but gossips thrive on spreading rumors, half-truths, and negative talk. They aren't simply sharing information. They're stirring conflict, planting seeds of distrust, and often using others' misfortune to elevate themselves. Gossip has a way of contaminating not only reputations, but also the very foundations of relationships, turning trust into suspicion and dividing communities from within. The impact of gossip on your emotional well-being can be severe. Not only does it create unnecessary drama, but it also erodes the trust you have in others and yourself. Imagine a scenario where someone in your social circle is constantly the source of rumors. Every time you interact with this person, they seem to have some juicy piece of information to share, often at the expense of someone else. They thrive on the shock and intrigue they provoke, but in reality, they are slowly poisoning the very relationships they claim to be part of. Besides that, gossips put you in a difficult position. You may start to question whether this person will turn their negative attention toward you when you're not around. And when trust is compromised, it becomes nearly impossible to maintain authentic, meaningful connections. This is the true damage of gossip. It doesn't just harm the subject of the rumor. It harms everyone involved. You become entangled in the toxicity, even if you didn't start it. The negativity spreads, making you feel uneasy and emotionally drained. However, the real danger lies in the subtle temptation to participate. Sometimes, it's easier to go along with the flow of gossip rather than take a stand. After all, no one wants to be the outsider in a group. Yet every time you engage, every time you listen and nod, you become part of the cycle. You perpetuate the negativity, and in doing so, you lose a piece of yourself, your integrity, your sense of fairness, your commitment to being someone who uplifts rather than tears down. On the contrary, the solution is to distance yourself from gossip and those who spread it. You cannot control what others say, but you can choose how you respond. In addition, if you refuse to engage, the power of the gossip diminishes. If you change the subject or even walk away, you set a standard that your energy and time are too valuable to be wasted on petty rumors. The more you resist, the more you cultivate an environment of trust and positivity around you. Consider this. You wouldn't invite someone into your home to destroy it. So why allow someone into your mind or heart to destroy the trust you've built with others? The friendships and relationships that matter are those based on openness, kindness, and mutual respect, not on whispered rumors and hidden agendas. A real-life example might be that of a workplace where gossip has tarnished reputations. One individual, always in the loop of rumors, spreads information about colleagues, exaggerating flaws, fabricating stories, or disclosing private conversations. The result? Distrust among the team, a hostile work environment, and even damaged careers. In such situations, the best course of action is to rise above the negativity. Stay true to your principles, offer no audience to the gossip, and instead, promote positive communication. As the anonymous quote wisely states, "Gossip dies when it hits a wise person's ears." The moment we stop listening, the moment we refuse to participate, we strip gossip of its power. Wisdom, in this case, is the ability to recognize the difference between idle chatter and meaningful conversation, between tearing others down and building them up. In conclusion, you hold the power to break the cycle. By distancing yourself from gossips and refusing to engage in their toxic behavior, you protect your own peace and foster environments of trust and respect. When you commit to this, not only do you elevate your own character, but you also inspire those around you to do the same. Toxic person #6, the jealous competitor. First of all, let's think about this type of toxic person, the jealous competitor. They are not simply people who admire others' success or want to do better themselves. On the contrary, their insecurities drive them to undermine others, often in subtle, calculated ways. These individuals project their own feelings of inadequacy onto those around them, turning every achievement into a contest. They don't just compete with you, they compete against you, and the battlefield is often your own sense of self-worth. Consider this. You're at work, and you've just completed a project that was praised by your boss. As you stand there feeling proud, that one colleague, let's call them the jealous competitor, comes up to you. At first, they smile, perhaps even offer a lukewarm congratulations. But then, almost immediately, they bring up a flaw in your work, or they subtly shift the conversation to something they've done, something they believe outshines your accomplishment. Not only do they downplay your success, but they also amplify their own, attempting to eclipse you. In that moment, the excitement you felt fades, leaving behind a dull ache of self-doubt. You begin to question whether your achievement was really as great as it seemed. This kind of behavior seeps into your mind like poison. Jealous competitors make you feel inadequate, even when you've done nothing wrong. However, their actions are not a reflection of your worth. They are a reflection of their own insecurities. They see in you the things they lack, and rather than work on themselves, they try to bring you down. It's important to remember that when people try to diminish your success, it's because they feel small in the presence of it. Besides that, in professional settings, this type of behavior is particularly damaging. In addition to creating tension, it fosters an environment of competition where there should be collaboration. You begin to feel like every victory is met with resistance, not celebration. If you let their negativity seep in, it will erode your confidence, making you question not only your achievements, but your potential. However, their problem is not you. It's their inability to feel secure within themselves. When they try to one-up you, it's not about you failing. It's about them feeling like they can't win unless you lose. Comparison is the thief of joy, Theodore Roosevelt once said, and this rings true with jealous competitors. First of all, they rob you of the joy you should feel in your successes because they want you to focus on them rather than your own growth. If we let ourselves fall into the trap of comparison, we allow others to define our worth. On the contrary, we should anchor our confidence in our progress, not in how we measure up to someone else's insecurities. The key solution here is not to engage in their game. Recognize their behavior for what it is, a defense mechanism. When you see it for what it truly is, you can detach from it. Instead of getting caught up in their attempts to make you feel less than, focus on your own path. Keep improving, keep growing, and most importantly, keep celebrating your wins. Not only that, but by refusing to compete in this toxic cycle, you break free from the energy drain that comparison brings. You no longer let others' insecurities dictate how you feel about yourself. In conclusion, when you encounter the jealous competitor, remember, their need to compete is not a reflection of your shortcomings, but of their inability to embrace their own journey. Your success does not diminish theirs, unless they allow it to. First of all, protect your joy. Besides that, keep your eyes on your own growth. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. And how true this is when it comes to dealing with the jealousy of others. By focusing on our own path and refusing to let comparison or others' insecurities tarnish our minds, we protect our happiness and we continue to move forward with strength and grace. Toxic person #7. The energy vampire. First of all, let's recognize that we all have moments when we need to lean on someone, when life becomes overwhelming, and sharing our burdens brings relief. However, energy vampires go beyond occasional venting. They drain your emotional and mental resources by constantly unloading their problems onto you, without ever offering a shred of support in return. These individuals latch onto your empathy and kindness, slowly depleting your energy with every encounter. It's like pouring into a bottomless cup. You give, they take, and nothing is ever replenished. The impact of an energy vampire on your well-being is profound. They leave you feeling emotionally exhausted, weighed down by problems that aren't even your own. Imagine a friend who constantly calls to vent about their life. Every conversation is a monologue of complaints. They always have something to unload, whether it's their work, relationships, or personal struggles. And yet, when you need someone to listen, they're nowhere to be found. You start to feel invisible, like your problems don't matter. Slowly, your own life begins to feel unmanageable because you're too drained to focus on your own needs. In addition, energy vampires don't just sap your energy. They fill your emotional space with negativity. Not only that, they often create an invisible obligation where you feel like you have to help them because you've done it so many times before. But this imbalance can't continue. You have to recognize that constantly absorbing someone else's problems without ever receiving support is toxic. On the contrary, the solution is not to cut them off entirely, but to set emotional boundaries. You have the right to protect your mental health, and sometimes that means saying no. It's about understanding that you can be a good friend without being their personal therapist. Encourage them to seek professional help if their problems are too much for you to bear alone, or, at the very least, seek more balanced interactions, conversations where both of you are heard, not just one. A real-life example might be someone you know who is always in crisis mode. They might call you at all hours, text you their problems, or demand constant emotional support without ever checking in on how you are doing. Every interaction feels like a drain on your energy rather than a reciprocal exchange. Over time, you notice that even though you care about them, you dread every phone call because you know it will leave you feeling depleted. Albert Einstein once wisely said, "Stay away from negative people. They have a problem for every solution." This quote perfectly encapsulates the essence of the energy vampire. No matter how many solutions you offer, they will always have another issue to bring up, another problem that drags you into their world of negativity. The more you engage, the more you become entangled in their web of helplessness. Ultimately, setting boundaries with energy vampires is an act of self-preservation. You must protect your emotional well-being because you cannot pour from an empty cup. If you are constantly drained, you won't have the energy to invest in your own life, your own goals, or your own happiness. In conclusion, your energy is valuable. Don't let anyone steal it from you. Instead, invest it in people and activities that recharge you, leaving you more fulfilled, not depleted. By creating these boundaries, you regain control over your emotional space and empower yourself to live a more balanced, joyful life. Toxic person #8. The passive-aggressive person. First of all, let's understand that passive-aggressive behavior often hides behind a veil of politeness. making it harder to recognize at first. These individuals avoid direct confrontation, but their dissatisfaction seeps through in subtle ways. Sarcasm, backhanded compliments, or vague, indirect criticism. Instead of addressing their issues head-on, they prefer to send mixed signals that leave you questioning yourself. It's like being handed a compliment wrapped in an insult, and it leaves you feeling confused and frustrated, unsure if there's really an issue, or if you're reading too much into it. The impact of passive-aggressive behavior is far from benign. Over time, this pattern creates a toxic atmosphere in relationships. You might feel as though you're walking on eggshells, afraid of triggering another round of subtle jabs or sarcastic remarks. Nothing is ever resolved because the real issues are never addressed. Instead, resentment builds in the shadows. For example, imagine working with a colleague who, instead of offering feedback directly, always makes sarcastic remarks like, "I guess some of us care more about deadlines than others." Their words sting, but because they're framed in humor, you're left wondering if they really meant it or if you're overreacting. In addition, passive-aggressive people often claim to not have a problem, while their actions speak louder than words. Not only does this create confusion, but it also delays any resolution. Communication becomes strained because every conversation feels like a puzzle. Full of hidden meanings you're forced to decode. It leaves you emotionally drained, questioning whether there's an underlying issue that's never been discussed openly. However, the solution lies in open communication. It may feel uncomfortable, but addressing passive-aggressive behavior head-on is crucial. Encourage the person to express their feelings directly, making it clear that you're open to hearing their concerns without judgment. In many cases, simply giving someone the space to speak their truth without fear can break the cycle of passive-aggressive behavior. But if they continue to avoid direct communication, it's important to maintain your own boundaries. You are not responsible for decoding their subtle dissatisfaction or for tolerating sarcastic digs that erode your self-esteem. A real-life example might be a family member who never directly expresses their frustration, but always uses sarcastic remarks or exaggerated sighs when they're displeased. Perhaps they say something like, "Oh, I didn't realize we were having such a casual dinner," when they're upset about the lack of formality at a family event. The comment seems harmless on the surface, but the underlying message is clear. They're unhappy, but they won't say it directly. Over time, these constant jabs chip away at the relationship, causing unnecessary tension. Oscar Wilde once said, "Sarcasm is the lowest form of wit, but the highest form of intelligence." This statement captures the irony of passive-aggressive behavior. While it may seem clever or humorous on the surface, it's ultimately destructive. Sarcasm can be sharp, cutting down relationships without offering any constructive solutions. Instead of building bridges through honest dialogue, it tears them down through indirect negativity. In conclusion, dealing with passive-aggressive individuals requires patience and emotional fortitude. You cannot change someone else's behavior, but you can protect yourself from its impact. By fostering open communication and setting clear boundaries, you remove yourself from the emotional maze they create. You deserve relationships where honesty prevails over hidden resentment, where concerns are addressed openly rather than buried beneath layers of sarcasm and subtlety. Empower yourself by refusing to engage in their emotional games and focus instead on relationships built on mutual respect and clarity. Toxic person #9, the controlling perfectionist. First of all, let's take a moment to reflect on the weight of living under the scrutiny of a controlling perfectionist. These individuals are relentless in their pursuit of flawlessness, but not just for themselves. They impose their impossibly high standards on everyone around them. Every minor detail that doesn't meet their expectations is criticized, leaving you constantly on edge. You feel as if nothing you do is ever good enough, no matter how hard you try. This not only exhausts your energy, but erodes your sense of self-worth, as you begin to believe that their approval is tied to your value. The impact is profound. Controlling perfectionists make you feel like you're always one step behind, forever falling short of an unrealistic goal. Whether it's a partner, boss, or even a close friend, these individuals thrive on control. They push you to meet standards that are often unattainable, creating a cycle of stress and inadequacy. You feel like you're chasing a moving target, and no matter how well you perform, there's always something more to fix. For example, imagine having a boss who scrutinizes every detail of your work, pointing out insignificant flaws and never acknowledging your efforts. The endless criticism crushes your motivation and leaves you feeling like you're walking a tightrope between failure and disappointment. In addition, the perfectionist's desire to control not only robs you of your peace, but strips away your ability to be authentic. You find yourself contorting to fit their vision, losing sight of your own strengths and abilities. You start doubting yourself, second-guessing every action because you've internalized their dissatisfaction. However, the truth is, perfection is an illusion. Chasing after it, especially on someone else's terms, is like running a race with no finish line. It's a battle you can never win, and more importantly, it's a battle you shouldn't be fighting. But there is hope. The solution begins with reclaiming your own standards. Assert your boundaries with the controlling perfectionist and accept that perfection, in its truest form, doesn't exist. You have to let go of the idea that their approval defines your success or your worth. By focusing on doing your best, rather than striving for their version of perfection, you free yourself from their grip. It's about embracing the beauty of imperfection, realizing that it is through mistakes, growth, and effort that we find real excellence. A powerful real-life example would be a partner who constantly critiques how you handle household tasks, from how you fold laundry to how you cook a meal. Despite doing your best, they always find something to criticize, leaving you feeling like you can never get it right. Over time, this erodes your confidence and fills you with anxiety, always anticipating their next complaint. Yet, the reality is, their need for perfection is more about their insecurities than your abilities. As Vince Lombardi wisely said, perfection is not attainable, but if we chase perfection, we can catch excellence. This quote serves as a profound reminder that excellence, not perfection, should be our goal. Perfection may be a mirage, but in striving for growth, effort, and improvement, we capture something even more valuable: excellence. It is in our imperfections that we learn, grow, and ultimately become stronger. Instead of being weighed down by someone else's impossible expectations, choose to value the excellence you bring to the table through your dedication and resilience. In conclusion, while the controlling perfectionist may try to dictate your life through their demands, it's essential to hold firm in your belief that you are enough. You do not need to conform to their unreachable ideals. Set your own standards, focus on doing your best, and allow yourself the grace to be human. In doing so, you'll not only protect your mental and emotional well-being, but also rediscover the joy in doing things your own way, imperfections and all. Toxic Person #10. The Drama Magnet. First of all, it's important to recognize the drama magnet for what they are: individuals who seem to thrive on chaos. Wherever they go, conflict follows. They are always embroiled in some form of controversy, whether at work, in their social circles, or even within their families. Their lives are a whirlwind of disputes, arguments, and emotional turmoil, and they have a way of pulling everyone around them into their storm. As a result, being around them feels like walking on eggshells. You're always on edge, waiting for the next wave of drama to hit. The impact on your emotional well-being is profound. Drama magnets drain you of your energy by constantly pulling you into conflicts that aren't even yours. They leave you feeling unstable, as though you're stuck in a perpetual cycle of stress, anxiety, and uncertainty. You might find yourself questioning why you're always getting dragged into their issues, even though the conflicts don't directly involve you. Imagine having a friend who is constantly embroiled in arguments with others. One day it's a dispute with their partner, the next it's a disagreement at work. Inevitably, they pull you into the narrative, seeking your advice, sympathy, or even help to mediate. Over time, you realize that their constant need for conflict leaves you emotionally depleted and unable to focus on your own peace. However, the truth is, you don't need to be involved in their constant chaos. In fact, the best way to preserve your own emotional health is to limit your involvement. Drama magnets will always find new conflicts, but that doesn't mean you have to be part of it. It's essential to set boundaries, both emotionally and mentally, and refuse to be drawn into their problems. You can empathize with their situation, but without making their chaos your burden. Maintaining a focus on your own peace and well-being is the greatest form of self-care you can practice in these situations. In real life, it's easy to encounter a drama magnet in a social circle. Think of a friend who always seems to stir the pot, making mountains out of molehills. Every event turns into a dramatic episode, whether it's a misunderstanding with a mutual friend or an overblown reaction to a minor inconvenience. Their energy is chaotic, and they drag everyone down into their whirlwind. You might have tried to help, offer advice, or be a voice of reason, but you've noticed it only pulls you deeper into their never-ending cycle of drama. On the contrary, the solution is surprisingly simple. Limit your involvement and avoid being drawn into their problems. Just because they want you to be a part of their chaos doesn't mean you need to be. As Anonymous so wisely said, you don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. This quote speaks volumes about personal agency. You have the power to choose what to engage in, and more importantly, what to step away from. In conclusion, staying focused on your own peace is the ultimate key to protecting yourself from the effects of a drama magnet. By maintaining emotional distance and refusing to be a participant in their endless conflicts, you reclaim control over your own well-being. Drama is inevitable in life, but choosing not to let it dominate your mind and heart is the true path to emotional freedom. Do you agree with me? It's crucial to recognize the impact toxic people can have on your life and well-being. By distancing yourself from these negative influences, you protect not only your mental health, but also your peace and personal growth. Take a moment to reflect on the people in your life, who uplifts you and who drains your energy. I encourage you to share your thoughts in the comments below. Your experiences may help others recognize and deal with toxic relationships in their own lives. Remember, protect your peace, and remember, not every battle is yours to fight. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.